Hey, good morning, everyone. Fridays with Freddie here with Fred. Fred, jumping right into our topic, you and I were talking just before I hit record. Let's just go right into it. You want to catch us up to speed on some stuff you've been reading, some research that's out, and you're connecting the dot for us in higher ed. So help us do that.
Yes, I read a research study that just came out from actually one of our clients, Johns Hopkins University. They went to a conference, the Robotic Learning Conference in Munich. And what I read kind of blew my mind a little bit, and then I started to tie it to other research that I've read. So you know that there's robotic surgery now, right? And
Yeah,
maybe a
yeah.
lot, yeah, maybe a lot of people have heard of these robots. They're called Da Vinci robots. So I was reading the article and doing the research. So supposedly there's 7,000 of these machines around the world, which are used very, very heavily by about 50,000 surgeons.
Okay.
What I didn't know was that every one of these surgeries is actually recorded with cameras on the arms of the robot,
Yeah.
right? And this is used by doctors to do post-surgery analysis, see how they can be better, they can do things better. Well, they took all of these surgeries, and it's many, many, many
Oh boy, yeah.
surgeries.
7,000 times 50,000, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out if through simulation the AI can learn how to do particular surgeries. And the result was that yes, the AI could teach itself how to do certain actions and performances. So now we took something that usually would take programming a robot, where the robot is teaching itself. But really, it's AI teaching itself, right?
Yep.
And we know that
Yep.
that is something that's coming. So a very big theme that we have at Beyond is when we go help customers, we always tell them we need to start thinking about where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is today. Secondarily, we believe in student-centric institution, student-centric transformation,
Yep.
not vendor-led transformation. We want institutions to be in charge of their own transformation and
Hmm.
specifically to have student-led transformation.
Yeah.
So I came across another study. Remember, we talked about agents,
Yeah.
tools-based agents. And one of the big announcements by Anthropic a couple of weeks back was that, hey, we now have an agent that can kind of read your screen. So it can not just help you write an email, it could actually send the email
Hmm.
and make suggestions. So all these things are happening at the same time. Another research that I came across were some social scientists, because one of the things that the social scientists struggle with is how do you get enough interview subjects to do your research, right? To do your
Okay.
surveys, to do your interviews, et cetera, et cetera. So a particular researcher decided that based on the fact that he had done a podcast and had noticed that, hey, in 2 hours of podcasts, there was actually some behavioral data and some decision-making data and some background data that can be gleaned from that, much more than having a survey of 15 questions or 20
Okay.
questions. So what they decided to experiment with was, well, what if we took subjects and put them through kind of a 2 hour interview that way, really specific with specific questions and
Sure.
specific frameworks? Could we create a simulation, kind of a digital clone of that person, but specifically the decision-making process of that person? And if we then took the real people and put them through specific tests, so math tests or personality tests, etc., and use the AI digital simulation to fill out the same test, what would the difference be?
Hmm.
And to their amazement, the AI made 85% of the time, made about the same decisions, came to the
Interesting.
same conclusions, right? So that's extremely, extremely powerful. Now, as you know, Joe, we have a very educated audience, so there's probably people listening to me right now go like, yeah, but it's still far away. And I laugh at some of those comments because I read some of the comments and they say artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence is at least 10 years away, right? So that's the amazing thing. We're now in a time where we think that a 10-year time horizon is a long way,
Yeah.
right? So if you put it in the context of higher education, on average, students graduate in 6 years. Very few students graduate in 4 years, right? Okay, so we are saying that within two graduating classes, we might have artificial general intelligence, which can start doing a lot of things. So what is the point of my story is that some of the basics that we deal with, which is start thinking about where the puck is going to be. Make sure you have student led transformation, focus on the students, focus on the outcomes, but start seeing the outlines of what is on the horizon and how this might impact your institution. I think it's going to be extremely profound. I don't think we're really going to understand what it's going to look like. But for example, if I can create digital humans and I can record, for example, the most favorite professor, teacher at an institution, and I record 2 years worth of classes, and I can create a digital copy of that, plus match that with all of their research, all of their books, all of their papers, all of their published works, basically, and put on top of that every book ever published, every research ever published on that topic. We're starting to look at a future that's going to be very, very interesting at the very least, right? And I think that most institutions, especially on the academic side, underestimate the impact of what that's going to mean. Because can AI take the place of a human, of an instructor, of a professor? No, because there's other reasons why we have human interaction. But will it be able to take care of a lot of the foundational stuff? Get to what Bloom called mastery learn. Could we even start looking at what's called the two sigma problem, which is the individual tutoring? I'm sure it's not going to be perfect, but what it will force institutions to do, and especially the academic side, is to rethink how they teach. How are you going to teach students when they have access to all of the information that they need? And not only that, the AI can match them with mentors. The AI can match them with peers. The AI can match them. Actually, the AI can match the way they feel, right? I'm feeling a little bit down today, or I'm struggling with a particular topic. An AI has 24/7, 365 days a year, can help a student with, okay, let's work on this topic. Let's work on that topic. Again, we don't know 100% what this is going to look like, but it's coming. And if robots can now teach themselves how to do, complicated surgeries, I don't think it's a far cry to say, will we have digital clones of instructors, of professors? And maybe we should take advantage of that. Maybe that's a way to rethink what the university actually means. What is the role of the university within the institution when it comes to teaching and learning, for example, if that's the case? Does the university become the place where that's where you go for human connections, to be socialized, to build your network? I guess this was one of those weeks where I saw some of the research and I was like, I don't hear anybody talking about that. What I hear people talking about is that, oh yeah, but we're still a long way away. We're at least 10 years away. 10 years.
Is that a question for you? Do you believe that that's them having really studied things? Is that a comment, oh, that's 10 years away? Is that based on deep study, or is that more masked in fear of, I don't want to look at what's around the corner because if I do, it's going to scare the hell out of me. And so I'm just going to push it off for 10 years?
I think, well, the 10-year statement, a lot of specialists and experts in AI use that term specifically when it comes to large language models. Most AI scientists believe that the architecture of large language models cannot get to artificial general intelligence. So we need a new architecture. But as you and I know, Joe, having been in this industry and seeing how technology evolves, there's a concept that we deal with, which is a transitionary architecture. So will LLMs get us there? Well, it's almost irrelevant to try to argue that point, and that's what people are doing. No, LLMs will never get there. Okay, let's say you're true. But working with LLMs and deploying LLMs, and especially started using the RAGs that we spoke about previously, will give you a lot of insight and experience of how to start to rethink and re-architect AI architectures. And so I think on one hand, there's a group of people that are very educated and knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable than we are by a factor of 1,000%, that are saying, sounds great, but there's still a lot of work to be done. For most people within institutions, including academics, I think the concept of exponentiality and the fact that change is speeding up, people have heard it, but I don't think they quite understand what it means. To use the old analogy of being a frog in boiling water, that's kind of where we are now. So it's not just that we have change that's coming. Oh, we'll have new change. We'll go from iPhone 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. But the impact of that change is going to be quite profound, so profound that I think a lot of people have a hard time trying to wrap their head around it.
Going back to your example, just so we can land the plane to very practical higher ed scenarios, as you were describing what the Da Vinci robots are doing and that data now going into another AI and that AI looking at it, studying it, getting smart and knowing now how to do the surgery. And you asking the question, if that's where technology is today, why couldn't we take the knowledge and teachings of an individual and all the research surrounding that body of study and put it into a digital twin or digital human and have it teaching, right? 24 hours a day all over the world. That's available today, right? That could be done today. And I'm sure we'll be playing with that early in the year to experiment and prove it. But do you believe that kind of change in the classroom is going to come out of higher ed? What's your opinion? Or do you feel it's going to be something outside of higher ed that disrupts higher ed and says, we're doing it, higher ed, what's your response?
I would, my gut tells me it's going to come from outside.
I would say so too. Yeah.
Simply because, we all know, and everybody that works in higher education, both on the academic side and on the technology side, administrative side, we know how hard change is within an institution, right? There is a particular culture that has a hard time with any change, let alone disruptive change like this. So I think it's going to come from the outside. And I also think that industry is going to play a role in this.
For sure.
Remember, one of the things we spoke about on this podcast is about verifiable credentials and skills-based learning and micro-credentials, etc. There is industries right now that are already starting to define at a very academic level of, okay, what if I broke down all the skills within my organization? What are the hard skills? What are the soft skills? What are the adjacent skills? How do I quantify that? And then if I quantify it, how do I score the people that are already working here? And then use that to get them to the next level?
How do I build, in a sense, clones of that profile, right?
Exactly.
And how do I identify it in future candidates?
It sounds distasteful, right? But that's where we're going.
Oh, yeah, I really do believe, I'm with you, that it's going to come from outside higher ed. But I think our caution to our industry and to the people in the industry, these are technologists and academics and administrators, you have to be having these conversations now to say that if 6 months from now, 16 months from now, or 36 months from now, you heard of a brand that's entering the market that has taken knowledge and put it into digital twins, and now that education is available at low to no cost, sponsored by major corporations, because it's outputting a better product than we are doing in higher ed, how will we respond? What would we do? What would our strategy be? Because unlike COVID, you have plenty of time to plan. You have plenty of time to strategize and have your institution's roadmap for that upcoming change. To your point, the change is inevitable. It's coming. 10 years is a blink of an eye away. More realistically, this massive change is 2 to 4 years away. So the question is, what's your plan? What's your strategy? So you're not caught going, oh my gosh, what do we do? How do we respond? And then it's too late.
So cab drivers, let's say, for example, a place where I used to live, New York City. New York City used to have the cab drivers, and the entrance to be a cab driver in New York was called a medallion. You had to apply for a medallion, you had to pay for the medallion. And over time, the New York City medallion became one of the most profitable, one of the most profitable investments. Despite that barrier of entry, Uber decimated the cab industry in New York City. There's still cabs, but the number of Ubers is just, it's decimated that industry. In my opinion, there's 3 drivers in the United States and Canada, especially, why people go to college. Number one, it's a cultural rite of passage for a lot of families, for a lot of students. Going to college, going to university means, okay, I am progressing, I am preparing for career, I'm becoming an adult and citizen, etc. Mm-hmm. Number 2, universities and colleges have a credentialing monopoly.
Right.
We still think of bachelors and masters and certificates and, does it come from a quote unquote
XYZ university?
XY university, accredited institution. Number 3, industry has used those qualifications as a toll gate and kind of a replacement token of, well, if somebody graduated from a four-year college, from this particular college, was also a brand, and did these things, then I can make reasonable assumptions that they will be able to do those things. But this is a very American, Canadian, North American idea. There's many places in the world where getting a skill set and having that skill set validated is more important than a particular institution that you go to. For example, myself, I grew up in the Netherlands. Netherlands has a bunch of universities. Culturally, nobody looks at one university as being better than another university. There's literally not a single employer who will go, well, you went to the University of Amsterdam versus Leiden University. Great. I like Leiden. Culturally, that's just not the case. So apprenticeships, certifications, for example, in technology, if you're an AWS engineer or a Cisco engineer or Google, it doesn't matter, Microsoft's certified. These are replacement qualifications a lot of times for people to get entry into the workforce from an IT perspective. Oh, just to put a top of this and going back to where we started, I think people need to start paying attention to all these micro innovations and micro shifts in society and start thinking, but what would that mean in 5 years?
Yeah.
What would that mean in 10 years? We've already had the governor of Florida say he's very unhappy with the traditional accreditation agencies.
Yeah.
We just had the Trump administration say the same thing on the campaign trail. So it's stirring in society.
It is. And I think we've always said as a firm at Beyond, we always believed that higher ed changes when external forces force it to change, right?
Yeah.
And so some of these things, whether you agree with them or not, is not relevant. The fact is the changes, the forces of change are hitting higher ed. And the more you think about it, Fred, it's like a trifecta. You've got this massive AI technology shift. You've got geopolitical stuff going on. And you've got the consumer themselves, the students and the learners going, this is stupid. I need something better. We're talking to hundreds and hundreds of students and consumers in our focus groups, and we're hearing from them very clearly. There's a reason they're not choosing higher ed as the first choice anymore. And so when you look at that trifecta, to sit there insular and say, it's going to be fine, this will all blow over in 4 years, or it's 10 years away, or whatever you want to give it as your paradigm, I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's wise. And I think institutions need to be spending time, CIOs, enrollment leaders, presidents, provosts, you need to be in rooms not thinking about what's next semester's coursework or should we buy this software or should we buy that software. Your conversations need to be these conversations and asking, what are we going to do? What's our point of view on this matter? Right? Yeah. Have a point of view, because you may say, hey, we're such a big brand, we will always have students.
Which is true. Which is 100% true.
There's a few of those. Hey, we're a community college and there will always be a certain number of students who will come to us. Great. Are those numbers sustainable, assuming the external forces have had their way?
Yeah.
And there's a major shift in the population going and getting this product some other way because industry has solved for it. I think that's what we have to be concerned about, worried about. And the schools that plan well and have good strategy will do just fine. They'll actually thrive. The ones that stick their head in the sand are the ones we're concerned about. Yeah. And I think your warning is well taken on and that matter. Any closing thoughts before we finish up?
Yeah, I just want to share for our viewers. Obviously, I have a particular point of view that's heavily informed by the fact that I've been in higher education technology now for over 25 years, different institutions, etc. But I've always made a point when people ask me, okay, so what were your biggest challenges? And I would always tell people, I've never had a technology challenge. It was always culture, people, procedures, policies. Those are the challenges. Technology, if I could connect the pipes will be connected. But what I've also seen over the last 25 years is that when you hit a certain technological limit, most people in society, because they're not familiar with it, will go like, oh, that's where the comments come from. Oh, we're nowhere near AGI. It's just not going to happen because of these limitations. What I've seen over and over and over and over again is the old Stoic saying, the obstacle becomes the way. Meaning, if you run into these obstacles, the focus is going to be on resolving those things.
There's always going to be an innovator who solves for it. Always.
Who solves for it. So don't assume it's not coming. It's coming.
Well, I would almost say, Fred, based on what you just said, I would almost encourage people to don't assume that it's not coming, assume it's coming faster than we all think.
Right. Yes.
Right. Because that's the level of innovation. I mean, we're launching our own technology firm. People are going to hear about it soon with solutions. And now that we're in that market, looking at other technologies and talking to VCs and looking at the landscape of technology, the amount of innovation taking place is staggering.
Yeah, and that goes back to something that you've worked on, Joe, with the Bossy framework, the entrepreneurial framework.
The behavior, yeah.
The behavior there's people that will look at certain obstacles and go like, well, that's it. That's just the way it is. There's not much we can do. But there's a whole other group of people that I go like, well, no, that's the problem I need to solve. And
well, that's what excites. Yeah, I'm excited to go solve for that problem. And that 18% or so that I find in my research of people who have that innovator type DNA, that Elon Musk, Steve Jobs type of brain, they're at full capacity right now, innovating outside of our industry and inside of our industry. And so schools just need to get ready and leaders need to be having these conversations. We'd love to have these conversations with them, but even if you're having them in your own school, that'd be great. Thanks, Fred. Fridays with Freddie. We'll see you all next time.
See you next time.